But it's the idea is you're looking for this trickle of like 2 to 3 here from this marketing pool, 5 to 6 from this market, all these different polls that you have out there. You're just trying to capture a decent amount from each one of those. So you're not fully reliant on one marketing avenue to grow your business.
Yeah, that took me years to like think about. You know what I mean? Like I'd always like, I might only get 2 customers from that. It's not worth my time. But it's like, to your point, like 2 here, 5 here, 10 here, 3 here, like all of a sudden now you have 30, 30 new customers, right? And that's like how marketing should be. Because if you rely all strictly on one channel, it actually makes your business less valuable.
Hey guys, welcome back to the Brotherhood Beyond Business. Today, me and Danny are going to discuss just current marketing things that we're thinking about, things we've been trying to implement in our different businesses. Not saying we're experts on any of these things. In certain ways, I don't even know if we know these things work 100% at this time. We're just throwing out different things because we are always trying to throw out as many marketing ideas as we can. We're trying to put things in place and see what sticks. And that's what you got to do with marketing a lot of times. You have to test, test and try to see what actually works. So I'm gonna have Danny kick it off with what's currently he's practicing in his business and the things that might be working versus not really things that aren't working. We're not really going to talk about that, but more just like what are the things that are working for him and how he's implementing them in his business.
Yeah. So I think, before I get into that, I think marketing is such a weird topic for a lot of business owners, and I think a lot of them undermarket, and really because it takes one of two things, many times both. It takes a lot of money and or it takes a lot of time, right? Like people think the thought of like advertising on Facebook for $100+ a day is like obscene, but if you do it well and you get a 3-to-1 return on every dollar you spend, well, then it's a no-brainer, right? Everyone, if I go to you, Trevor, and I say, I'm going to give you $1, right? You give me, or like, you give me $1, I'm going to give you 3 back. You're going to do that every day, right? You're just going to keep giving me dollars, right? To keep getting $3 back. So marketing is very important and it's very effective if done properly. So, but it takes money and it takes a mindset shift that like you have to spend in order to earn. And the other side of things is time. So I've gotten pretty good with the using money to generate marketing, generate leads and things like that. So we do a lot of paid advertising and it works well. So my thought is not so much like I'm dire need of more leads, but I'm always trying to grow the business. I'm always trying to get better. I'm always trying to improve skills. So what I have focused on now is I'm at a point in my business that a lot of the day-to-day functions like fulfillment, like even some aspects of leadership now, even some aspects of sales now is not reliant on me anymore, to where I've been able to shift my focus now on other avenues of marketing. So where I'm at in my business, what we have allocated, what we thought would be the most impactful is kind of a combination of like organic content and then warm outreach with that. So what we're doing right now is we're spending a lot of time in creating content. And there's kind of different components to content and it can mean a lot of different things, but we kind of look at big picture is what is the most relatable type topics for people associated with our type of business. So I'm talking about a fitness business, right? So like what are like very relatable topics that the average person that knows nothing about us can relate to, right? And they see that and they're like, oh, that's funny, or oh yeah, I experienced that. And it just relates to a lot of people that draws them to our business, right? They're like, oh, that was interesting, I'm going to follow them, or I'm going to engage in that piece of content, right? Because then the next time it comes around, they're more likely to do it. So that is kind of like we're casting a wide net for a lot of different people, to kind of come to learn more about us, because that's really what marketing is. It's just letting people know you're there, letting people know you have a product or service. And so we're doing that, and then the rest of our content is all about like educating them, entertaining them, and then empowering them, because that is where social media is. That is where people's eyeballs are right now, is on social media. And they generally go to social media because they want to be either entertained, they want to be, educated on something specific, like Trevor, you and I, we watch a lot of educational stuff, right? So I go to social media in particular to be educated, sometimes entertained as well, right? And then the empowering one can just be more like motivating, things like that, just to kind of help them, take an action. So that's like big picture, how we kind of look at those things. And then it's sprinkled in, kind of showcasing our clients are getting results, right? So our product actually works. Our clients actually enjoy coming here, and then we sprinkle that into the rest of the content that we're doing. So people that do come in, they see, oh, I see somebody like myself that it's working. So like, I'm not going to dive into like a full detailed of like what we're doing social media wise, but like it's working really well, and it's helping in a lot of aspects, even just for current customers. So we're spending a lot of time on organic. Is really the big picture. Is we're taking time every single week, every single day to put out better content, because that's the thing. We were doing content before, but it's now we're focusing on better content because people see through that and people want really good stuff. So that's kind of where we're going. And then this flip side of it, where we say, how do you turn organic content into paying customers, is more of the warm outreach process. So what we're doing now is very simply, we are taking a lot of time and we are just starting conversations. So if somebody likes a post, if they vote on a poll of our stories, if they engage in one of our ads, or they comment on one of our posts, or whatever it is, we will then go to them and message them directly and say, hey, thanks for the engagement, thanks for the follow, thanks for whatever it is that they were doing, and just start a natural conversation like they're somebody on the street, right? Or somebody new coming in, because they might be new to raw fitness just virtually online. So we're just starting a conversation. We have a whole process that we go through. We're not spamming them. We're not hitting them up like, hey, come buy our stuff, right? It's just starting a conversation. Sometimes it never even goes into a sales conversation. Sometimes it does. So we're doing that. And then if we just don't have a ton of people like engaging over the last 24 hours or whatever it is, then we'll go into our followers. I'll go to my personal followers on social media and I'll just start a conversation. Hey, I just saw you had a baby the other day. That's awesome. Congratulations. Like, how you keeping up with like doing that, like working and, and staying active and everything there, right? And it just might lead to me being able to help them. Sometimes I just give them a free guide that I have that might help them. Sometimes I offer a free pass to our gym. Sometimes I just give them some tips in the DM. It doesn't matter, but I'm just starting conversations because now, guess what? Now they know we are here. Now they know that we are in the community, right? So maybe it's not now, maybe in 6 months, when they think of I need to get in shape, they probably will be more likely to come find us, right? Because we gave them value, we started conversations, everything there. So, we're doing kind of that whole better content to engage more people to know that we are there, and then starting conversations with people that have actually engaged with us, not spammy, not blowing them up if they don't respond, anything there, but just starting conversations. And actually, I do have some stats doing this for the last couple months, is pretty much every 100 new conversations we start has equated to about one sale. Right. So for me, if I'm in business and I know, okay, I need more sales, I just have to do more volume of reach outs to people. Right. So, okay, if I need 2 sales a day, well, I need to figure out a way. How can I do 200 reach outs every single day? Right. Whether that's through me, whether that's through the business, whether that's through staff, whether that's through clients, whatever that looks like, is how can I start more conversations in the community? Because I know that's going to equate to the number that I need of direct sales, if that's the focus. And here's the thing, we're just getting started with this. I'm sure we're going to get a lot better than this. So maybe it's 1%, say it turns into a sale now, maybe it eventually turns to 2 or 3. And how great is that? Like, if you can hit, 20,000 people in a month that you've started conversations with, I mean, you just got yourself 20 plus sales, 30 sales, 40 sales. Like, how many people's businesses would be greatly impacted if you got 30 new clients, right? 30 new sales in a month, just for taking time. But here's the thing, and I think this is the biggest issue in marketing, is people are so uncomfortable to do that. So even if their business is dying and they're hurting, they would much rather just do that than do this uncomfortable thing that would probably save their business and make a drastic impact on there. So my biggest thing is get uncomfortable, figure out how to either spend more money on marketing or do something that's going to take some of your time, because it's probably going to make some of the biggest impact in your business that it could. And last episode, we talked about like, the economy. We don't know what's going to happen in the coming months, coming years, everything there. So like, this is another thing. You don't even have to spend money. Just spend time. Do it at 10 o'clock at night if you have to. Like, this just requires work. This just requires time. So no matter what's going on in the economy, you can still do this and not even have to spend $1 on advertising. So like, if you're worried about the economy, you're worried about spending money on ads, maybe start with something like this first.
Yeah, I think that was the part that I was going to bring up for it is the way you guys go about it is so, like you said, it's, it's not spammy at all, but it's super uncomfortable for people. And it's amazing how hard it is for people to have one rejection from that, where it's like, oh my gosh, like why are you messaging me? Well, that's like one out. Like let's use the example. Like let's say it's 100 people you get a message. Like if you have like you probably realistically have one, maybe three people that might say something negative about it, but like that's 97 people that either let's say 30 of them are like thank you, and then you might have like 60 that like don't say anything at all. But there's 97 people that didn't have any that no negative impact, but those three people make you never want to do it anymore. Which is mind blowing. It's not just an entrepreneur thing; it's a human thing, right? And
Yeah.
it's like we all really struggle with those things. Even though like the way you guys are specifically approaching it, yes, you are trying to get customers, but you're adding value to this person. Like, why? Who wouldn't want value added on a specific obstacle they are having in their life? And I would say, for the most part, if you put yourself in that person's position, if I put a post on social media and I'm struggling with like I just can't seem to get my workouts in. And then Danny's like, hey, like, just, here's like one of our guides that we have do at home workouts, like do these on your own. And you said that to me, I'm gonna be like, oh my God, Danny, that's so like, that's really helpful. That's valuable to me. So if you look at it that person's perspective, the other way is like, if you actually did it, not versus like, hey, come try our gym out for free for a week. It's like, well, that's not what you're saying. What you're saying is I'm starting a conversation. Maybe down the road, there'll be some type of offer in there. But the initial part is adding value, having a conversation about why they can't do that. And then you giving the value there versus like spamming them with like, here's an offer to join our gym. Like, well, that's not the way you're going about it. And I think that's where people need to change their mindset on it is it's even in my business, like I struggled to personally reach out to really close people when we first started Level Up, to reach out to close people and let them know I was running a business level up that could help them. I knew it could add crazy value. It took me probably 5 months before I was able to consistently reach out to people that I had close relationships where I was like, okay, I'll do this. Finally, when I did that, our business like just started taking off. And now the opportunities that were being offered are really from those people. We're getting big opportunities offered from those people because they trust us and they were happy that we were building a business. But I was just so nervous of somebody close to me rejecting me. But like you said, it is such an impactful thing. The only cost it has is shame. Like shame meaning three people might say no. Like whoop-de-doo, that's sales. So
Yeah. Yeah, 100% that's sales. And if anything, it's way less rejection than normal sales. You know what
yeah,
I mean? Like way less. So and I'll tell you what, we've done thousands now. And I think maybe two people have said something. It's just like, hey, not interested, or like, hey, stop, stop messaging. Like it
yeah.
wasn't even like, if you really want to have an impactful business, like you have to be able to take those rejections. But it is hard. I'm with you, Trevor. It took me a while. Like, I've been talking about, I got to do marketing, and I knew this was the thing I needed to do, but it really took me a while to get going. I had some things I had to figure out, but I think there was some procrastination too, because I was worried about getting rejected and spending my time doing it and all that. So, but it has made a big impact. And I think the one thing I'll leave it with is, you almost have to think of it like dating, right? Or like a dating app kind of thing, right? Like you're kind of flirting with somebody, because that's kind of what it is. You know what I mean? I'm not saying you got to go be sexual or anything like that, but like it's kind of like that concept, right? I'm not going to go in and I'm going to DM Trevor. I've never met him before. This is probably a bad analogy, but like, Trevor, will you marry me? Right? Like I'm not gonna hit him like that, right? It's like, hey, I saw you're into this stuff. I love that stuff too. Like, what's your favorite part about it, or what's your this? Like, oh yeah, that's my favorite thing. Oh, are you going to that show they're doing? But whatever it is, right? Like, you're starting the conversation, and then it's like, maybe it gets to like, hey, would you like to go get some coffee? Right? You're not going to ask them to marry you from the get go. You know what I mean? So, and it's the same kind of concept. You don't want to go in for the kill right away before they even know who you are, before they even know your name, right? So, treat it more like dating, in terms of warm the conversation up, nurture it a little bit more, and eventually ask them for coffee if it makes sense.
I honestly love that analogy. You never did dating apps, did you? Did you meet your wife
No,
on? So I
no.
did. I met my wife through a dating app, and I think that's perfect because a lot of young entrepreneur, especially men, probably have done this. And
Yeah.
so the idea is, it took me really 10 years on a dating app to meet my wife. That's how long it took me to date on a dating app to meet my wife. And I went on, I the amount of girls I messaged. I'm not. I honestly have no idea to track it, but let's say it's like 1,000 girls easily in 10 years. I messaged 1,000 different girls, went on probably at least a couple hundred dates, dated multiple girls for months upon months, right? And so, but it's the idea. Like, it took me 10 years of shots to get that to find the one, and that is so much more uncomfortable than messaging somebody
For
on,
sure.
through your business. It's like so crazy because like the amount of time I've done that, I did that, but the reward was the value, right? The reward was like, I'm looking for my wife. That's so impactful. Like, I know this is the one thing in my life I want more than anything. So the uncomfortableness way outweighed, like, I mean, the reward way outweighed the uncomfortableness, way outweighed it. And you got to think
Yeah.
about that in your business. Like you had said, some people won't even do this when their business is about to die. And it's like, well, that should be the time when you're just like, man, I will do anything. I'll go door to door sales. We've been to that point. I mean, I remember during, like, there was this one, wasn't during COVID, is like, as COVID was kind of like more in 2021, when people were allowed you to kind of stop by their house. Like, you couldn't really do that in 2020. But I remember we did for GCP, our gym, we did door to door, like, reach outs. Like, our Nathan went around to door and just knocked on people's thing, handing them a flyer because the business was struggling that much at that point. And so he's just like, I'm just going to go to people's doors and just start. And it honestly worked. It was old school, but it worked. We got people from it. So I do love that analogy of how you went about it, because I do think when people think about the reward is really valuable there, right? Even if your reward isn't looking for your wife, if you're just looking for other stuff, like, it's still reward, still gets you going, right? Like, you
Yeah.
know, like, it gets you enough. Like, that reward is enough to be uncomfortable. And I think that's what you need to think
100%.
about, is like, can I get one, just some real conversations out of this? And like, the fact that it is like, it's not like, a quick sales where you're going to get like 30 new clients in a month. But it's the idea is you're looking for this trickle of like 2 to 3 here from this marketing pool, 5 to 6 from this market, all these different polls that you have out there. You're just trying to capture a decent amount from each one of those. So you're not fully reliant on one marketing avenue to grow your business.
Yeah, that took me years to like think about. You know what I mean? Like I'd always like, I might only get 2 customers from that. It's not worth my time. But it's like, to your point, like, 2 here, 5 here, 10 here, 3 here. Like, all of a sudden now you have 30 new customers, right? And that's like how kind of how marketing should be. Because if you rely all strictly on one channel, it actually makes your business less valuable. I just recently found this out too. Like, it's single channel risk, right? So like 70% max your new customers should be coming from one specific thing, right? So if you have 90% of your people come from referrals, that is a less valuable business. Now, that's a better valuable business because you're getting referrals versus paid marketing. But it's just the concept. Like, for us, like, we did 90% paid ads were from our customers. You know what I mean? So we've changed that model to make a better business model and everything there. And I think, like, if you can think of it in terms, I love what you were saying there, Trevor. Like, I've used this analogy, like, coaching people in fitness forever, is like, your reason to do something has to be stronger than your reason not to do it, right? If I'm like, my reason to not eat that piece of chocolate cake has to be stronger than my urge to want to eat that piece of chocolate cake, right? And it's the same thing, like, my reason for wanting to do this DM versus my reason not to do it and get rejected has to be stronger. So, like, sometimes maybe you just have to do a little bit more soul searching of, like, what is it that I truly want? I'm in this pain. My business is struggling. Whatever it is do I want to sit in this forever? Like, is this that painful that that I'm okay living with? Or is it better to just get rejected? Because it doesn't matter. 5 minutes later, that person's going to forget that you messaged them anyway. So who cares? You know what I mean? So, like, what pain do you really want? So you're uncomfortable, or you're like, your reason to do the DMs, for instance, in this scenario, has to be stronger than your reason to avoid them and get rejected.
Yeah, and like you were saying there, with the ratio, right? I love the fact that you've moved your business to being like, you still rely heavily on paid ads for sure, but the idea is like building in that organic part, because even like you had just recently said in a message to me that, some of the with Apple making some changes to things they're doing, like they're affecting the ability to do paid ads. And they did that for Google Ads a couple of years ago already, where it's like because you can't actually capture certain data, privacy stuff. And so you're only hitting a percentage of phones. Like, I mean, you're not hitting 100% of phones anymore with ads. And I know like you had said paid ads are changing a little bit. And like, so if you're so reliant, Facebook ads runs your business, and all of a sudden Facebook ads, which literally can switch in a day, they can literally change their policies in one day, which is crazy. So
Yeah.
you've got to have these other avenues in there, because otherwise you literally, like, in one day, your entire business could lose not all of its lead flow. It's probably not going to change that drastically, but you could lose, like, if you're 90% reliant on it, you could lose 60% of that out of in one day by a policy change. So
Yeah, and I don't want to freak people out or anything like that. And I'm not educated enough on it. It's just like what I've been reading or understanding, talking to people that are close to it, is paid ads on social media in particular could take a massive hit. So like I say that to like even more push people that do rely heavily on that to like find other ways to get customers, and I would do it sooner than later.
yeah, I've what was it? Oh, like I know YouTube is having a paid feature where you don't have to have ads anymore on that.
That's essentially what Facebook they're testing with that.
Exactly. I mean, you can do that obviously on your TV. On your TV, you can pay for Hulu that doesn't have ads. So what that's doing is it's decreasing people that are paying for ads. Now they're not seen everywhere they want to be seen. And so it makes total sense. So if social media can find a way, and these companies aren't losing money doing this, they're probably
Right.
finding a way to make way more money doing this, because I'm sure it'll be a paid feature. You got pay to not have these ads. Well, now they're making more guaranteed money on this side of it and building a trust factor. So it makes 100% sense why companies would go that way. And it does make it scary for businesses. And that's kind of where I'll start into mind about like what we're doing in Level Up, because we've actually built Level Up specifically to be completely non-paid ads based. And when I say paid ads, I'm talking about social media paid ads. We are paying for this advertising, but it's just in a different non-online based model. So I'll kind of tell the two things that we're doing for that. Now, again, we got to understand that these businesses we're talking about are two different things. So Danny's talking about a fitness business. So it's a B2C, and I'm talking about a B2B model. And so there are going to be different concepts that go into these models, meaning like, I'm going to talk about cold emailing. Cold emailing is probably not a B2C thing. I really don't know anybody that does B2C cold emailing really, in the way that we're going to talk about it. So like that might not even be a thing, but I know direct mailers I'm going to talk about are a thing. But before I get to that, one other thing I want to bring up with a fitness business to keep that concept and thing is, one thing we're doing in our GCP is my business partner there, Nathan, every quarter he goes back and he reaches out to former members. So let's say he has a schedule, but every quarter he goes back about 6 months and then personally writes a physical card to our current member, then just says what he remembers about them, misses them a bunch. And then in that thing, he puts an offer. And so we've been doing that for years. It actually, honestly, every quarter we recuperate 2 to 3 members, former members. It's effective. And I think he sends out roughly a quarter. So he does it once a quarter. He sends out 100 cards. It takes time when he does it, but the idea is he's sending out 100. I mean, they're recuperating people. And then this quarter, what we're specifically doing is, because we know we talked about in the last podcast, the economy changing, we're offering a higher ticket price right now. And so what he's doing to former members is we offer our 3-month transformation program at $2,500. And so what he's doing is offering former members that same program for only $1,000. So he can show that huge discount that he's doing. Like, hey, we usually offer this because you're a former member, going to bring it down $1,000. We're able to do that just because we have a certain built-in cost and we know what we can do there. We're not nearly as profitable from that, but the idea is these people are former members. It's way higher than they were paying for with us before. Gets them reactivated for a transformation, because most clients have been gone for a long time. It gives a good transformation. So I just want to give an organic strategy that we use personally. We've been using it for years. The personal reach out has always worked out really well for us to former members. And it's usually to former members. It doesn't work out as well to former FEOs, like front end offers. People that just come in for a trial, that doesn't work nearly as well for them, but it works really, really well for former members because we have a relationship built with them. It usually helps that somebody that's writing the card actually knew the person physically. Like they had talked to the person, they had some things that they could put in the card that gives them relationship value, right? So that's one thing that could work for a fitness business or any really B2C customer. That could technically work for B2B too. Like if you've had former customers that you're like, hey, we have this product that we're doing. I miss having you as somebody. If you're really a company that had relationships with your customers on a B2B state, like account managers, that could work really well too. So one of the things that we are testing, we're in the testing process, but it makes 100% sense for us, is direct mailers again. It's an old school philosophy. People are like, those are dead. I have watched so much stuff kind of proving that it's not dead. And it's not dead even on the B2C side. And I think it gets missed because the idea now is on email, if you're sending to somebody's email, it can go to spam. If you're sending to somebody, if you're doing social media, they might be able to turn off those ads or just skip that ad. But you can send directly to somebody's mailbox, put it in their physical hand, right? It could just get thrown in the garbage, and it could be, and people don't like waste money, it gets thrown in their garbage. But if you look at and if you're an adult, look at your mail you got 10 years ago versus the mail you get now. Get way less mail now than you did 10 years ago because people are going to like a cheaper version, which would be email based. You're just not getting as much stuff in the mail. You don't get catalogs like you used to, stuff of that nature. So there's a lot less mail coming in your mailbox. So doing a direct mailer into somebody's mailbox is a chance that not many people are taking advantage of it. And so again, this can be done on the B2B side or the B2C side. I'm just going to give some quick advice on that. First of all, if you don't go and use a direct mailer company, it's a lot cheaper if you do it yourself. So that's one thing that people don't realize is direct mailer companies, they charge a lot for it. So because of that, that's where it's like, oh my gosh, to send out to 1,000 people was $3,000. That's the direct mailer company. That's not how much direct mailers cost. So example is we design our own direct mailer. We go to Vistaprint is the company we use. You can use pretty much any company. Go to Vistaprint. We send them through Vistaprint. It costs us roughly $1 per one sent out. So if I send out 1,000, it would cost me roughly probably cost me about 1,200 is what it cost me with taxes because taxes are still involved in that. But roughly, it's close to $1 exchange per direct mailer. So as a business owner, as a B2B, the thing is I'm not looking for every business. I'm only looking for plumbers. So in the state of Arizona, I buy all the plumbers that are here. Let's say it's 300. It's going to cost me $300 to send to them the whole thing. That's not that much at all to send a 300 directly into that plumber's thing, right? So in your niche, you can go in specifically and send directly to that person. Directly to that company. So there's your step one. That's an easy way to get in their thing. But they're just going to throw it away. They get all direct mailers. And B2B does get a little bit more direct mailers than B2C does anymore. But the thing is, there are special things that you can do to make it so that you can win that game. So example is you don't want to be the small low direct mailer. You want to be the 6x9. You want to be the larger direct mailer because you want to be seen. You want to stick out above the other mail. You don't want to be buried in the mail. And we stick out above the other mail. You want to think about it how the government official actually puts it into the box. They put it in with the address up. So most people make their offer and all their good stuff on the back side of the direct, what they call the front side, but the back side of the direct mailer, which is the big side where I can put everything I want on it. But you actually want to put your main offer and your eye-catching stuff on the side that actually has the postal side, because that's the side that gets set up in the mail thing. So when they pull out their mail, that's the part they see. You want to have your best offer, your best picture, your most attractive stuff right there, eye-catching right away. So the big thing that I've learned about direct mailers is, first of all, people are not optimizing them. They're using old school strategies, meaning like things people did a long time ago. When you get direct mailers, it's pretty bland. It's not like eye popping. You want it to explode like, oh my God, what is this thing, right? So you want to make it be catchy. You want to have it on the front side. And then the other thing is you need to hit that person at least 3 months in a row. And some other stuff I said, you should hit them at least 4 times a year. So you can be once a quarter, but kind of our strategy on the B2B side, B2C, I maybe wouldn't do this, but on the B2B side, we hit them 3 months in a row, and then we'll hit them again later in the year for another 3 months. So it'd be like 6 months later, we'll hit them for another 3 months in a row. Okay. With the offer, each of the direct mailers for us is going to be a different look. So that way it looks maybe I'm just catching them a little bit different with a different color. Also, we'll be putting a little bit, all the offers will be the same, but we'll put a little bit different wording on there to maybe hit a different like statistic that might affect this group versus that group versus that group. So with direct mailers, there's a lot more options out there. Instead of just being like, I'm just going to hire a company to do this one thing, you can do it much better. It's just, you got to take, just like with any other marketing strategy, like Facebook ads, just by putting a Facebook ad up, you don't get clients. You have to tweak, modify, hit the market, niche it down, that kind of stuff. Direct mailers are just like that. And that's where you can really win the direct mailer game if you're willing to spend the time. And then, honestly, doing it yourself is super easy. You just got to spend the time to get the card made, right? We just use like Fiverr to make a nice looking card and to go give them here's what we want to do, tweak it. It took us about a good 3 months to design our first direct mailer, but now we have that direct mailer forever. So.
Yeah, that's oh, sorry, Trevor. I didn't know you were done with that. I mean, I love that. I mean, I'm taking notes myself because I'm B2C, with my other business, and it's been on my mind to retest some mailers because I've done them in the past, but not effectively like that.
And I think direct mailers for B2C versus B2B. So B2B, I need to buy the business addresses. I mean, I need to get a plumbing business. B2C is what's called EDDM, every door direct mail. which means that like what you do is you pick a neighborhood, and I'm going to use fitness business as an example, but you can do this for any business. Pick an area where your best paying customer, it doesn't be your highest paying, but like your best, the ones that like, I get a lot of people from this area, they pay a pretty good price. They're not my low ball prices, but they pay a pretty good price. They might not be the premium, but they're pretty good, right? We're paying for our main offer, really, our core offer. And so you pick that area, and then what you do is when you go like Vistaprint or whatever place you want to send it to, you just hit, here's an address of one of in that area. So you can just pick a client of yours, pick their address and put it right in the middle there, and then do a 10-mile radius, whatever you want out of there. The bigger your radius is, the more people are going to have to pay for. So what I usually would do on that side is I would just do, okay, I'm going to pick this neighborhood, and I want to do a total of say, I would probably do, depending on where you're financially, I'd probably do 500 and just do a little bit smaller. So that's that's only $500, and I can hit them 3 months in a row. So that's $1,500 I'm dedicating to this neighborhood, right? And then the idea is you can send it down a street. So I want to stay within the street, which will keep the homes. Because if you do a whole neighborhood, that's like probably 3,000 homes. It's not going to work. You need to pick a street that your main client works on. And then from there, it's just called, you set it up as EDDM. I want to hit everybody on the street. So it just means that they send it to every door direct mail, which means that everybody on that street gets sent a card. And so versus like going out and buying, here's a list of addresses and these kind of demographics. Now you can get it pretty detailed, meaning when you go on to like Vistaprint, you can go through and Vistaprint, you can buy the addresses right there. I want this demographic. I can want, how much money they make. I want them to have like children or not. You can dial that in too. I think that could be a very good strategy. If you like, I only want this demographic. Where our gym is, our neighborhoods are designed by demographics. What I mean by that is like where people, like the neighborhood they live in is a very demographic based thing. Cause like our gym is in the west suburbs of Chicago. So a wealthy area. You have these different wealth pockets, and their neighborhoods are those pockets, right? And so we only do the EDM because it's already built into those pockets for us. But if your business wasn't built that way and you have specific demographics, I only want somebody that makes over $1 million a year or over $800,000 a year, you can dial that in on direct mailer too and send it just to those homes. So it's you can get it very dialed in, more than I ever realized until I went down that route.
And you can do all that through Vistaprint?
We use Vistaprint. I'm not trying to like promote Vistaprint for, we're not associated with them at all, but I find I use Vistaprint for a lot of things, and it was the easiest way I could do that in seconds. And so like, obviously Danny, you and me can always jump on a call and discuss that personally, but it's one of those strategies where I think B2B and B2C, people have thought that that's no longer a great strategy, and it's actually an awesome strategy. You just got to be patient. The idea is, okay, so Danny's example is how much do you spend on ad spend for Facebook ads in a month?
We do about 5,000 a month, so like 150-ish a day.
So the idea is your return on that, you want a lot of leads. So on this idea, you're going to be doing $500. You're going to hit roughly 500 homes 3 times in a row, right? And so that's going to be $1,500 that you're spending on 500 homes. But your returns might only be maybe 10 customers out of that, which is really good if you think of 500 homes, 10 customers. Yeah. But you hit them 3 months in a row. But the idea is like it can't be the same. You've got to make sure when you're comparing them, it's not always apples to apples against marketing avenues. But you also only spent $1,500 over 3 months, which is way less than you had to pay for paid ads in 1 month. So it's just another one of those poles that we can put in the water and be able to like really tailor in, this is all we want to spend on this, and I want to hit just this one neighborhood that I know I get good people from. So
I think the volume might be different, but I think like the core metric that most people should with like marketing anyway should be the same, right? Like what's your CAC ratio? Like how much is it costing you to acquire customers, and like what's that in the ratio to your like long-term value? So like LTV to CAC. So if it costs me $500, or I'll just use, if it costs me $100 to acquire a customer, I at minimum should be 8, 10, 12 times the return for the lifetime value of that customer, right? So if it's costing me every 100, I should be getting like minimum 800 to 1,000, probably more per that one. So it's like if you spend $1,500, can you get that LTV? So 15,000 or whatever it is for the lifetime value of those people, or somewhere along those lines, like over the course of them being with you, And I think whether it's Facebook, direct mail, or whatever, like that's kind of where you should look at when it comes to like your revenue generated from your cost to acquire people.
Exactly. Yep. Yeah. And that's like for like, we look at it like for B2B is we send out 300 mailers to Arizona, right? And I'm going to hit roughly, it's going to be $900 over a 3 month period. And so, but the idea is selling one person in that is ours is $700 a month, and we're probably going to keep that person for at least 3 years. Well, that's okay. We made a crazy amount of money off of just getting one out of 300. So the idea is like, yeah, you got to really know your numbers and make sure that the value is worth that there. But it's one of those, like, it's kind of a hidden gem that's never going to stop working, but it's also because people stopped optimizing it. So
Yeah, makes sense.
cool. Another one that we do, I'm going to a lot less time on this one because I'm not an expert on it, but cold emailing. We found cold emailing to work pretty decent for B2B. Again, this is a B2B strategy. I don't imagine this would be a B2C strategy, but I also am not an expert on it, so it could be. You never know. I don't know how going about buying lists for personal emails and stuff like that. I don't know the rules and stuff on that. But the B2B side of it, it works really well. So if you're a B2B business, it's cold emailing. I mean, it's actually our number one lead getter right now. It's the thing that gets us the most booked appointments. Conceptually, what you got to do is a little bit harder process to set up. You have to buy a lot of email addresses. You got to make sure you warm up the emails. There's a lot of like blah, 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 technical stuff in there. But conceptually, the thing that we were doing wrong, we were doing cold emailing ourselves, and then we ended up hiring a company to do it for us because we weren't good at it. But what we came down to being is we were doing way too our cold emails weren't really cold emails. They were really like long emails. Cold emails should be very short. They should be within 15-second read. Like you should be able to read it very fast, as well as you need to hit their pain point. What's the thing they struggle with the most in a second? And you don't give them an offer for about three emails in. So unless they obviously commit to booking an appointment right away, but you don't really throw out an offer link until down the road. I think for the most part, most people probably do cold emailing wrong is really my advice from it. Is it works. It can work really, really well. I know Alex Ramosi, who's a guy that we both really respect and follow a lot of his content. He said that I remember reading, and I think it was in his $100 million leads, that he didn't even know there's a company around him that was doing cold emailing in the same industry as him, gym industry. And they were like bigger than him in the industry. And he had no idea. They were like a secret assassin behind the scenes. And so he had no idea. And that kind of gave him confidence that they could do cold emailing. Now they did. I think a good portion of their business is done cold emailing wise. But cold emailing is another strategy out there. If you're B2B, like don't ignore it. And if you're bad at it, there are companies out there to hire. You can always reach out to me. I do have a company that's pretty good at it. So I can always like connect you with that person as well. But the idea is it is a strategy out there that's a good B2B that's working really well for us. And the last strategy I have to kind of wrap this up for the day is I'm just going to bounce back onto Danny's content strategy. We have learned, and this is for the Brotherhood, the one we're doing right now. We have learned that content is our number one tool for that. It's going to be the way to educate people on what we do and how we do things. I think the key thing that we're learning over time is quality content is important. We have to continue to also, this is something Danny's kind of taught me. I need to not be stuck in my ways and like the content being like, this is the way I like to listen to content, but that doesn't mean that's the only content that's being out there. And it also doesn't mean, what do you call it? Like where it's like on the content directly meant for that specific content path or that, not path,
Like
but
native to the platform, right?
native to the
And the
platform.
reason, real quick, Trevor, just to, like to give context for that, like the reason for that is like if I'm on YouTube and I'm watching shorts, for instance, right? It's the like generally the ones that do really well look a certain way. So when I see other videos that look and feel like that, I'm more likely to stop my scroll and watch it, right? So and it just and I mean the platforms each want you to like edit in their thing because you're spending more time in their apps and all that. So there's a few different reasons why that's impactful, but I love splicing content for different platforms. However, it's if you're going to get the most out of it and not really waste your time, is definitely make it native to each platform. Like an Instagram reel, even if the content's the same, should look and feel different than on TikTok versus like a YouTube short, for instance, right? Those are the three that are kind of like similar, but they should all look and feel a little bit different.
Yeah, and so that's something I'm learning for the BBB is all my stuff is the same across all three platforms. But I do find that our stuff does really, really well on YouTube Shorts because it's educational. It's meant for that. Doesn't do nearly as well on Reels. We don't do Facebook. We don't send it to Facebook Reels because there's just some confusion on the 30 FHP or whatever you have to do to send it off and those things. And ours don't always come across that way. Regardless, there's some technical stuff with that stuff. But and then another thing, like podcasting is another tool that we're using obviously for this. And I was talking to my business coach, Nick Berry, yesterday, and he when he puts out a podcast, he showed me his system for it. And his podcast reaches way more, not because he has more followers, but because they have a certain strategy on how to like promote that stuff out there. So like what Danny was saying is like, it's not just about creating the content, it's being able to intelligently get the content into people's hands. That's the most important part of it. And so it's like, I think there's also things that I'm in the process of learning on how to take our we're developing content, but how to get our content to rank out there super fast. Like podcasting, Nick's kind of teaching me some stuff on that side of things. Danny's obviously teaching me some stuff more on the BBB side for the different natives and stuff. And we're learning those things, but content quality is super important. The part that I was just going to tap into is, besides the quality, it's also being able to have the distributing it in the right ways to take advantage of that, using AI to be able to make things a little bit quicker for you, but also to make sure that you're utilizing like the different algorithms that are out there. So there is other stuff that goes into it. I don't have a lot of detail out there about that, but the idea is like, just because you create content, it's not the only step of the thing. You also have to have a way to distribute it correctly, do it native to the platform so it maximizes the platform. So there's a lot of those little tricks of the trade that are, as you get better and better in the content world, you've got to continue to maximize. Cool, Dan, you got anything else you want to do before we wrap this up?
No, I think those are all really great strategies that are like people are aware of, but I don't think they realize the impact that it can have, and I think it just shows like it's a volume game, guys. It's all about, getting and putting out more out there, and you just got to put in the work. So, and I guess the one caveat I would say is don't try to go implement all these at one time. Choose one, do it at least for just a whole quarter by itself. Make sure it works, optimize it probably much longer than a quarter, before you start implementing the others. Because if you're anything like me, you're going to try to do all of them and then none of them really get done well. So I would choose whichever one you feel maybe the most passionate about, maybe you feel the most educated on, that you feel you can do the best or the easiest to implement. And I would just start with that one first and do it for an extended period of time, optimize it, delegate or develop the system for it, pass it on, train somebody else, and then go to the next thing.
Yeah. And my last part to that would be, and I'm thinking I might actually just do like a solo cast about this one in the future, but you need to spend some time before you really do any of this marketing, is making sure you dial in your marketing message, meaning like don't just be putting stuff out for the random sake of putting stuff out. One thing I learned with as we're building out the level up stuff for plumbers specifically, it took me 3 months to dial that message. And I'm not saying it's going to take you that long to do it, but for me, it took me a long time to get that message right. And oh man, the message at the end really speaks to the customer. The message in the beginning, it was way different. So you've got to really dial in what the stage of awareness is for the customer. You've got to understand who the customer really is, who the niche is of that part. So take time. Also spending time building that marketing message so that way you're maximizing that when you are doing all this stuff, you're maximizing that end result. Cool. All right. Great podcast today, Danny. Guys, if you guys have any questions about the Brotherhood, this is the kind of stuff we talk about in the Brotherhood all the time. Honestly, it's like marketing is by far at the top of the list all the time, because as a business owner, if you're not marketing, you're dying, right? If you got to be growing, so you got to be doing. So we talk about it all the time, new strategies, what's working. For the most part, a lot of times it's like you need to keep doing what you're doing. You just need to optimize it realistically. And then slowly, like Danny said, you get one that you're really, really good at, and then start to add another pole in the water after that. All right, guys, have a great day. Hit subscribe, turn on notifications, and stay locked in. Brotherhood is more than business. It's about leading from the front, leveling up in every domain, and becoming the CEO of your own life. Step up, execute, and we'll see you in the next one.